It's time for Kids Corner! Yay!
Hey boys and girls, and welcome back to another Kids Corner. Last time we talked about Jesus dying on the cross for you and for me. He'd never sinned. He gave his life not for his own sin, because he had none, but for you and for me. He's God. And he gave his life for us. But what happened after that? Did he stay dead? Well, maybe some of you know the story. You see, after Jesus died on the cross, his body was taken down from the cross, and it was wrapped in strips of cloth that would have been a lot like the strips of cloth that he was wrapped with as a baby. Not the same, but similar. And so Jesus, notice the piece of paper going into the envelope, was put in those clothes. And those clothes were then taken, and Jesus' body was placed in a tomb. We'll use this envelope to show the tomb. His body was placed in a tomb, which was then sealed. Because you see, some people said that Jesus' disciples would come and take his body and pretend like he rose from the dead, even though he hadn't really. But that wasn't so. So, he was put in the tomb, and in front of the tomb was put a big stone, a huge boulder. And that boulder, in front of it, were many guards, because they wanted to make sure that nobody could come and take Jesus' body, and they didn't believe him that he would raise from the dead. But 3 days later, an earthquake happened, and the soldiers all fell to the ground, and an angel came. And that angel rolled that stone away. And when that angel rolled that stone away, inside that empty tomb, they found the grave clothes that Jesus was wrapped in. But inside those grave clothes, Jesus was nowhere to be found. You see, boys and girls, 3 days after he died on the cross, Jesus rose again. God raised Jesus, his son, who is God. It really gets confusing, but it's all true. And when Jesus was risen from the dead, it showed that God was satisfied. That means he accepted the payment that Jesus had made for sin. For your sin and for my sin. And, boys and girls, that's why, because Jesus died on the cross but rose again 3 days later, he showed he's more powerful than our sin. And he showed that he's more powerful than death. Remember, in the last time, death separates us from God, but Jesus is more powerful than death. And he's more powerful than the sin that keeps us from God. And the Bible tells us that whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord, that's Jesus, will be saved. You see, if Jesus had never risen from the dead, then him dying on the cross wouldn't really mean all that much. But when he rose from the dead, he proved he already was God. He proved that he's God. And he proved that he's more powerful than sin. And he proved that he's more powerful than death. And so that's how we know that one day when he comes again, if we have trusted in him, we've turned from our sin and we've trusted in Jesus, that we can have forgiveness of sin. But boys and girls, if you would rather just keep doing things your way, if you would rather say, no, I'll try to make my way back to God on my own, through money, through being baptized, through being good, You can try those things, but none of them will work. There's only one thing that's ever worked to take a dead person. That's really what all of us are spiritually on the inside, and raise back to life, and it's Jesus. He raised to life, showing that he has power over sin and death. So boys and girls, if you will trust in what Jesus did on the cross for you, you can have forgiveness of your sin and enjoy a relationship with God. I love you, boys and girls. Thanks for listening to this Kids Corner, and we will see you next time.